Hello everyone, this is Waldorf.
And this is Statler.
And today we're going to kind of look at the rulebook and give our wish list.
Yeah.
I think we've done this before.
We have, but now we've got version 2, which is supposed to be coming up later in the year. And on some of the boards you see people posting different things about what they'd like to change. And we've seen that they've asked us to comment on the magic system. So
correct. Not us in particular,
yes,
us as in
all of us. The community,
yes,
of which we are part. An annoying part, but part nonetheless. So we thought we'd use this as an opportunity to throw our hat on other things that we'd like to see them consider to strengthen the game, at least in our diluted opinion. Yeah.
Diluted?
Yes.
All right. So anyway, going down through here, just going to scroll down through the army book.
Yeah, we're just going to go through the rule book.
The scale bothers me.
So you call the army book the rule book, and you call the rule book the army book. Yes,
I do.
The scale of the game bothers you.
The scale of the game bothers me. This just throws me completely out of it.
Yes, there you go.
They need to fix this whole page. Other than that, everything's perfect.
Yeah.
Sorry, we'll pass on that.
We can pass on that one.
Units and formations.
Yes.
Base to base contact.
Base to base contact. Let's go ahead and talk about that corner thing here.
Here?
Yeah, why not?
Not in the charging?
Yeah, why not?
The thing that, I mean, if you've watched our battle reports, you've seen when a large target, it's more prevalent
with single base units.
It looks bigger with single base units.
Yes.
Charge each other, and because you want the overrun a certain way, you'll clip your corner, the right corner of your unit.
Or you want to run away a certain way, whatever Correct. The case may be. Yeah.
You just want to you'll clip edged, corner to corner basically.
Right. So you have these corner to corner fights.
So you got a corner to corner fight, which looks dumb.
Right.
And it's gamey.
It is gamey.
You can. I hate to say it, but if you walk through a tournament and you watch, if you lose early, like some of us have occasionally done, and you just kind of wander through and looking at the games being played and everything else, you'll see it more on the top tables than on the bottom tables. On the bottom tables, people will push their model in and it'll be lined up straight, model on model, base to base,
face to face, yes.
Center to center. There they are fighting. That's the way it should look, everything else, but the strategic thing is on the top tables where they're hitting them on the corner so they can push them a different way,
right.
Which gives them the overrun they want.
Yep.
There's a lot more of that. I'm not a fan of that at all.
I don't like that at all. I wish you had to not just maximize the number of bases, but you had to maximize your frontage, basically.
Frontage.
So
correct. And on single models, even achieve center to center the best you can.
Yep.
Would be my.
That's me maximizing the frontage. Get
not
as much of your bases in contact as you can.
Yeah.
So
But I mean, you can still do the slightly to the edge thing if you got like a 20 millimeter guy hitting a dragon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can still clip on one
That's
corner.
True. That's true.
I just think center to center if possible.
Yeah.
That also prevents. We'll talk about that in charging. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just one of the things that bothers me on base to base contact.
Yes.
Multi-part models.
That's fine. The only thing here is a minor thing on the army books. They still have values in some of the stats that aren't necessary on combined models.
Oh, like the horses,
leadership, yeah,
or ballistic skill.
Yeah, just make them easier to read. Just dash out all that stuff. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
That doesn't apply.
Correct.
It's number 2.
There you go.
Number 3, full ranks. This is clear out of Warhammer. It's been there since, 6 editions?
Even further, hasn't it?
Well, 5 guys. Well, it was 4 guys at one
used
point.
To be 4.
Yeah.
Actually 6. I think 7th went to 5.
Yeah.
In an effort to sell more models, of course.
Right. To sell more models. And so this 5 model thing is a full rank. And then, except for certain troops where it's 3 or 1 if you're a monster.
Right.
To me is just, it's a holdover. It's unnecessary. I think there shouldn't be a minimum number of ranks based on models. It should really be based on, do you have, are you wider and deeper and all that type of thing. I don't care if somebody's 2 guys wide or 10 guys wide.
Right.
If they're all lined up, that's
That's a rank.
That's a rank.
Okay.
So, the only rank that I would want to make illegal is 1.
The 1 wide, 10
The
deep.
1 wide, 10 deep. The combo line kind of
Now, but then again, I don't like what you're talking about unless you also add the additional rule.
You have to
that
change.
You can't be deeper than you are wide, or you can only be 1 deeper than you are wide. Because I don't like the 2. I wouldn't want to see something 2 wide, 10 deep.
That wouldn't bother me,
especially with an unbreakable.
If there's one, if there's one, and there's another rule change that we'll get to.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I'd like to see. There's something that was Warthrone did it kind of a neat thing on, and that is each formation was allowed certain formations. You were in
Correct.
line. You were, and it defined what they are. And even if you look at the quick starter now, you have defined, formations.
Formations, correct.
So you don't limit it to just one, but units basically to be in line, you have to be wider than your deep. That's
Right.
a line formation. You have maybe type of horde types of things that can be 1 deeper than they are wide. But you want to force, in my mind, you want to force long lines or squares. You don't want to force long, deep triangles.
You don't want to force conga.
Deep rectangles.
Right.
The other shape with 4 sides.
Right. And
So yeah.
and the game now encourages deep rectangles.
Correct.
So you can keep your steadfast longer and that type of thing.
Yes. And said we'll talk about that when we get to steadfast, but I just don't like it being fixed. If they have to fix it, then I think it should be a little bit more variable. You could actually make it based on the unit.
It would take a lot of work, but I like the thought of that because then you can do something with like the Empire of Sonstal, who are supposedly skilled, trained, drilled fighters. They can adopt more formations and different.
Right.
Orcs can adopt horde.
Yes, exactly.
Just the pile of guys formation.
Exactly. And you just define what those formations are. A line is this, so many deep
Right.
is too deep is a line, and you go as wide as you want.
Right.
And a assault column is you can be 1 rank deeper than you are wide. A horde is as big as close to a square as you can get. So
Right.
there's just different ways you could do that.
Yeah, and then the column is for moving.
Exactly.
If you want to stick with other war games.
Yeah. Yes.
And that brings us to horde formation.
Which
units in
we
ranks
both
of
hate.
10 or more models wide are considered to be in horde formation. So just because you're 10 wide, you get an additional rank attack.
And it doesn't matter if you're 20 wide or you're 25 wide or whatever.
Correct.
Yeah.
This has kind of always been a rule I don't like. This horde formation rule. I think this horde formation needs to be a unit, not unit specific.
There's 2 pieces of it. If it's like what we're talking about, you have line formation,
Right.
column, you have horde. It's just a formation. And how you set up on the table. How it affects combat
Right.
is not so much the formation, it's the rule.
Right.
And there, I think we both agree that horde formation should just be how you set up. This ability to fight in an additional rank should have nothing to do with
Correct.
horde formation.
Right.
It should have to do with certain units. Like elite units have that rule, basically fighting in each extra rank in some cases. You could apply it to certain horde type armies.
Right.
And only
Skaven.
specific units.
Right.
Skaven, orcs and goblins.
Zombies, maybe.
Zombies. Cheap mass guys that have this. And it doesn't matter if they're 5 wide or 10 wide or whatever wide. They get an extra rank. That's just because they're all pressing up against
And maybe
one
they
another.
lose ranks for rank bonus in combat as well.
If you have that rule, yes.
Because the idea is they're just undisciplined, pressing up against you, slamming you, trying to get to you,
Exactly.
fighting through each other to get to you.
Exactly,
Actually,
just trying to poke you, and
Right.
that way you only give it to those I'll call it lower tier units.
Correct.
There's no reason that elite swordsmen, sword masters, or anything that are high weapon skill guys should get
Right.
this, should be able to get the advantage of the rule, because it just makes them far too powerful.
It
you know?
does.
And yeah, you can reduce the number of models in a unit, but there's just other compensations. It should really be only those rush and pile type of units.
Right. And like I said, so if you do the one step that you're talking about with units have certain formations, then horde is a formation, then that's, just one of them. If
Right.
you do the smaller step, horde is no longer a formation. Horde is a rule that gives you fight an extra rank.
Correct, and only the units.
And maybe minus to your rank bonus if like I said, as a smaller step as opposed to doing all the formations.
Yeah.
It's just the horde formations always kind of bugged me.
Right.
Footprint is actually kind of nice. I'm actually okay with the footprint that they came out with that.
I'd like it to apply to line of sight.
Right now it does not apply to line of sight.
Yeah, I like it to be consistent that it applies to everything about the unit.
Right.
That your guys in the back, where they are, they could be, because they fight wherever, so who's to say where they are?
Well, they don't fight wherever.
The-
This guy can't fight a guy over here.
No, but as far as
to the right, they
yes,
project off here.
They
to
project
the right.
to the side, so
Yes. Yeah, good point. And even if you're going to do it that way, then I think since this guy here, this third guy in on this picture, can fight over here to the right, why can't this guy fight this guy?
Exactly.
If they're in a horde formation,
Yes.
basically. Anyway, just why one and not the other.
Right. I'd be consistent.
That's it. Units facings and arcs, fine.
Yes.
Player turn. I don't have anything really.
I don't have any problem separating the. Yeah, no, I think everything's fine. I mean, you could have us. No, it doesn't apply. Never mind.
Dice rolling. The fact that you pick up dice and roll them is a bad thing.
Yes, that is because I roll badly, and there should be a rule that you don't. You can get what you want if
you don't have to roll bad.
If you're me, other people shouldn't have that rule,
Correct.
but I should have that rule. Yes.
If you have a YouTube channel,
Yes,
you get a bonus.
You get a bonus.
Measuring distances. I'm okay with. I mean, a lot of people when I got to tell you, was it 7th edition when the pre-measuring was allowed for the first time?
I can't remember if it was 7th or 8th.
Anyway, that was one of the things I swore was going to be my downfall to this game.
Oh, it was 8th. Because I think 7th you could still the Flea Master
Still
game.
the guest, okay.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, whichever edition that happened in, now this is great.
Yeah.
Cuts down the arguments a lot. It's a good rule.
And it helps for people that have better calibrated eyes don't have an advantage.
Yes, exactly.
We had a buddy that
War Machine.
the man had a protractor and a compass in his eyeball because he would fire his cannons. He played an Empire.
Yep.
And it could be 53 inches, and he would say, I'm going to go with, and of course you had the bounce back then, I'm going to go with 50 because I want a 4-inch bounce, and he'd be spot on all the
Every
time.
time.
He would always hit. The rest of us were trying to drop our shots in like old naval gunners, trying to bracket.
Yes.
By turn 3, we finally got it right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sorry, go back up to line of sight.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have to think this through a little bit. There's a difference between line of sight and ability to do things, and I think those things get merged together.
The fact that you can know a unit's out there and then know that you could single them out for shoot them.
The ability to charge somebody is not the same as line of sight. The ability to shoot at somebody is not the same as line of sight.
Correct.
And then line of sight is how far you can see, and that apply. Then you have spell effects. Spell effects. Some require line of sight. Some don't require line of sight. So I think that there just could be some clarification there.
Okay. And model heights, whatever. Things are big, small, medium.
Yeah, that's argument. I'd argue things are regular and things are large.
Just 2 categories.
Just 2 categories, because
Okay.
the only things that really matter is huge monsters that you want to be able to shoot at and target, whatever. But everything else, by the time you get the banners and you get the head crests and the spears and everything, what are you going to see?
Right.
Behind what? There are exceptions, of course, but it's not worth really bothering with most of the time.
Right.
Unit spacing.
Unit spacing. Here we go.
Yeah.
Why do you have to be more than 1 inch away from other
Yes.
friendly units?
And why can you come within a ½ inch
When you're moving.
when you're moving?
As long as you finish 1 inch more away.
Yeah.
I don't understand the need for this. The rule is you can't wheel onto them. So you actually take a penalty for getting closer already.
Yes.
So why does this need to be?
I think the only rule is you can't come into contact with another unit. That should be it.
Right.
If that's a millimeter, whatever.
Right. Anyway, board edge. I actually kind of like this, that you can temporarily wheel off the edge. There's no false wall there that you can't wheel through because of the way they do wheeling, where you can wheel off the edge of the board.
Yeah, I don't mind the rule because of that. I don't like the way they do wheeling, but
Right.
we'll get to that.
That'll be later.
Yeah.
Characteristic profile, fine. This is a GW thing straight across, but
Yeah, at some point they're going to have to at least rename a few things.
3, 4, 6. Yeah, there's the 9 the 9 statistics that make up characteristics that make up a model are the exact same as they were for GW.
Absolutely.
They need to change them somewhere.
Yes.
Simple. I mean, just for IP purposes.
Correct.
Characteristic tests are fine.
There's some ideas for splitting and combining, but those are more radical, so we'll leave those off this list.
I'm not a radical.
Yeah.
Priority modifiers, all this was fine. It's actually kind of nice they finally spelled this out.
Yeah, it's all good.
Building an army, points cost. All right.
Army restrictions.
This could use an adjustment.
Yeah.
The only, I don't want to turn it into Hero Hammer.
Right.
I don't want the characters to dominate the game. That kind of bugs me more. That bugs me more than monsters dominating the game. Because at least monsters, anyway.
I don't want anything dominating the game. But I also don't want it where whole sections of army books are not worth taking because you have better options in the same category, in a reachable category. They've done a good job by adding these new army-specific categories, but I think they've made a mistake by maintaining the core and the special universally. I mean, some armies fine, but I think certain maybe elite armies don't even need a core section. You just need to, realign. Then some armies you could even have minimums in multiple categories.
Well, they could fix it as well as. I think this could be corrected in another way, which I've always pushed for, and that I don't. Right now with the horde rule, there's the horde rule where you're 10 wide, you get the bonus, blah blah blah. I don't ever want to see a horde of elite troops.
Correct.
They're elite troops. They should be the limited number of guys that are there.
Right.
You shouldn't see a unit of 30 sword masters walking across the board towards you.
Yes.
It's just an objection I have to the fact that these are supposed to be your elite and it's the biggest unit in your army.
Yeah.
That to me is a problem.
Yeah.
Elites should be exactly that. They should be elites. They're really good. They should not be the the most numerous thing you have out there.
Yeah.
That's just my thing. So if they fixed it by putting everything into core, but your size of your unit was limited by how elite you were, that would fix it in some ways.
Well, they've sort of have done it by limiting the maximum number of points on units.
Yeah, but they've kind of gone away from that a bit.
It's just, but certain units still fit within the points, and then you have other, we'll call them crappy units.
Right.
That they're maximized, and they're still nowhere near the point ceiling. They can never be at the point ceiling because they're so cheap.
Because they're so cheap.
So you have that
you put artificial limits and numbers on them.
I actually, as far as just a general army design concept, I actually like the concept from Kings of War, which is you have your baseline units, your regiments, whatever, and for every one of those you can take.
Correct.
One of this or two of that.
This
or whatever.
unlocks that. This, two of these unlock one of these.
Yeah, I kind of think that's a nice mechanic. I think they're kind of wedded to these categories models, which is fine. But then you just have to rethink about it because, as I said, there are too many units that were in core before that you would take because they were in core and because you had to pay your core tax.
Right.
And now they're not in core because they're cavalry or beast or something. So you're never going to see them because there's something that does that job much better that you'd rather have. So They just have to think those things through. And then you look like the elven armies that have to take core, and you go, you know, they're kind of elite armies or
Right.
Aquitaines. You can make the same example. It's like it's all kind of the same stuff.
Right.
You know, you kind of should have a flavor for that army, and then that should kind of directly take certain things. And yeah,
Right. Limiting the number of certain troop type you can take.
right.
Yeah. Anyway.
So I like to see more. I don't have the answers on this one yet within the categories, 'cause I think it's really hard, and I know they've probably slaved a lot of hours trying to figure it out
Correct.
for what they've done so far. But this needs some work. There's just too many useless units, and there's still a few Death Star units that you'd like to see
Right.
not on the table all the time.
And then so we've talked about this
Oh.
going through the army books, and that's units belonging to more than one category. Because of the category splits, this is kind of necessary to stop you from overwhelming something, but there needs to be a better way of handling it.
I don't think it's necessary at all, because the only thing one is you see it most commonly with the characters. Well, you're already taking a penalty, losing character points by paying for that more expensive mount.
Right.
If you wanted to count more against those characters, they can count even, you know, double count it or do something against the character allotment. But it gets really wonky when it's Sylvan Elves are like a great example. You're so constrained in doing, you can't even make a mounted list with Sylvan Elves. It's not possible the way the
Right.
army book is like. Okay, I happen to have one of those. I can't play it, but you know, I don't like to see that kind of stuff. Figure out a category. If you have to do that, then create a new category.
Right.
And cap that category. You can have two character categories. You could have a monstrous character and a base character. If you need to do that, just to do it, you know.
All right. Splitting costs between categories, duplication limits. 0 to X. So like I said, this is 0 to X items per army is fine.
Yeah.
That's how you cap the war machines and the other
Yeah, I
stuff.
don't
One of a
bother that.
kind. Again, one of a kind. If you've got a purely elite unit, make it one of a kind.
Yeah.
It's an elite unit.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
I have a challenge with one of a kind when you play the big game.
Well, then you
Like-
limit that. One of a kind multiplies when
Yeah,
you get to a
which you don't do.
grand army.
Yeah, I think the Grand Army should be able to double their one of a kinds.
Yeah, the fact that this is not changed, you should
Yes.
double that in grand
Right.
armies and maybe eliminate it in more bands if it's that potent. Who
Mhm.
knows? General, selecting your general, that's all fine.
Yeah, it's all good.
And there's the war bands, grand armies.
Yeah, no problem with that.
Correct.
It's not really war bands, but that's fine.
No, it's
Yeah.
small games.
Yeah,
Hidden open list, fine.
That's fine.
Actually, we used to play a lot of hidden list
yeah,
when we were playing normal
right.
pickup games.
Make some of the odd items more useful.
Yep.
Size of games, no problem there. Sharing whatever. Building the battlefield.
That's fine. A terrain generator chart, that's fine.
It's fine. I'd like to see more than one chart.
Oh, kind of. We've seen it in the past where they had a hilly terrain chart,
A hill terrain chart, a forest terrain,
Right.
a desert terrain, whatever you want to call it. You don't have to change it that much, but just make some slight changes, and then you can actually assign those kind of to some of the, make it even more interesting that, for certain armies or whatever,
Yeah, but
that they'd have an advantage
yeah,
to get that terrain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Deployment types. They've added a deployment. I mean, they've got 4 different deployment types. That's fine. I think it adds variety to the game.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
I don't have a
with
problem
all
with that.
this. I think they've done a good job with designing these.
Yeah. I think the number 6 one is hard for people to get their mind around, but it's fine.
Actually, I have the most trouble explaining this one to people. 5.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because it's always you're in the outsides and you're out in the inside. What is
Right.
this? And how
Yeah.
far is this from this? And,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Anyway, it said. Then I'll even show them the chart, and it says a quarter. You just told me 18. Well, yeah, because a quarter of 6 feet is 18.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just the.
Actually, they should add. That's a good point. On that chart,
This one.
they should add the actual distances.
Well, they don't because it's a suggested table size. I think. It's
Yeah, I
not
understand
necessarily
that.
always going to be 72 inches.
Sure,
You know what I'm saying?
but you can make the argument it's not always going to be 4 foot deep.
And they don't. They
Like
just
from
say you
the
have to be
distance.
off the center.
Yeah. Well, then they just have to do this. Oh, they
Yeah.
could fix the middle or something,
Anyway,
just to help people. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But yeah.
would be a little bit more helpful to them,
Yeah.
I guess, but it's kind of hard if you have a variable table. Again, we say variable table, but I've never seen anyone do anything but a
when we did our
4x6.
multiplayer games, we used to back in the day. They'd be
Correct.
bigger, but yeah.
Secondary objectives. What do we got here? It's
I don't like hold your ground. Hold the ground.
the center of the board.
Just the center of the board. Yeah.
I'm fine with every one of these. The center, the least favorite, of course, is the hold your ground for me as
Yeah.
well.
Just because certain armies have challenges fighting against, I'll call it resilient armies that can sit in the middle of the table.
Right. Okay.
You know, I'm not huge on the flag one either, but the center of the board one's the one that bugs me the most.
Generate. we're gonna leave pretty much magic alone. We've already talked about magic. It's just, I mean, I guess we'll do a brief thing on magic.
Yeah.
Generating spells, rolling your spells is,
We don't believe in that.
for the benefit you're getting out of your mage right now, rolling your spells is ridiculous. It's not, I mean, in my opinion, I'm
Yes.
not a fan of.
We believe either you should be able, based on your level, you pick the spells, or you have 2 levels and you get half and half, whatever, something different.
Right.
But at least you know what you're getting. The
Correct.
magic is far too random.
Yeah, for the points you're paying for it, and for the chance of it getting off. I think I forget what they said. Somebody said there's like 7 points of failure in a spell
Oh, absolutely.
casting
It's just
as
too,
opposed to
it's
something
far,
else.
Yeah, it's far too many.
So anyway, so that was that deployment. I'm actually okay with this. Deploy your whole army. Let the other person go. So you can go first.
Yeah, I'm okay with all that.
The only thing I don't like with that is the Equitane can't participate in that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a army-specific challenge, but yeah.
Correct.
And
Movement phase, declaring charges. All right, declaring charges. You must declare a charge to get into combat. This is, what do you got on this one?
I don't have an issue on declaring charges.
Well, the ability to declare a charge. If somebody's out there, we were talking about earlier.
Oh, I thought it was farther when we
Is
get
that
the
down here?
alignment,
No,
yeah.
this is just straight. This is where you can charge.
Okay.
The problem we have here, specifically you had, and then I agree with you completely,
Yes.
is it's possible if there's a build, especially with buildings, more
yeah.
than anything,
Buildings or maybe units.
or any
know.
buildings, units, impassable terrain.
Yeah.
You're on someone's flank. You're in the flank of the unit you want to charge, but his entire flank is covered by a building,
Right.
impassable terrain, another unit. You cannot charge that unit.
And the issue is you can physically draw a line of sight from your units to the target units.
Correct.
And because of the 45 degrees off the front, whether it's flank, side, whatever,
Right.
you're not allowed to charge it because you can't line up into the zone that you're sitting in, and that I don't like. My thing is,
Right.
if you can see it and you can physically get there, you should be able to charge. Even if you're blocked by
Right.
something else, then you go against the aspect that you can actually see.
Right.
If you want to take away the bonuses for that, whatever, that's okay. But
Well, even, I mean, a
be
lot of
stopped.
times it's even worse. I mean, you can, like in the example I just gave, you can see the front, but you're in his flank.
right,
You can't get to his flank. So
But you
you
could get to
should
the
have the
front.
option of going ahead
Going
and
to the front.
charging the worst aspect for you, which would be the front of that
Correct.
the unit.
correct.
Yeah, it's just weird that you can...
Or vice versa. It could be the other way around too.
Correct.
So, but that you can physically see it, you can physically move there, but because of a mechanic that says you're in a certain 45-degree angle, you can't do it. That I don't like that at all.
Right. I don't... Yeah, anyway. Charge reactions, hold, stand and shoot. They need another... We talked about here as another charge reaction we've mentioned before would be the... for skirmish, the fire and flee,
Yeah,
where they fire off a round, flee, and rally the next round.
yeah,
Whether that's automatic or even at the end of their flee, they just immediately turn around and face forward again.
And we'll talk about when we get to special rules. But yeah, that was something that was lost in Ninth Age that you used to be able to do.
Yeah, fire and flee would be nice for a skirmish unit, because historically that's kind of a skirmishy thing. You're supposed to
like
be
cavalry and that type of unit. Yes.
Moving chargers now. Moving chargers, aligning units. As far as this goes, when you're talking units, the aligning units works fine.
Correct.
I mean, at most, you're going to be able to shift over a model.
Yeah.
You know, if you're 5-on-5, you can shift over a model.
Yeah, I don't have any problem here.
Try to push.
Only when it's 1-on-1 does it bother me.
Charge range. I will say it's just kind of odd that the 2d6 for foot and 2d6 for, I mean, 3d6 would take the highest two for mounted. It's the minimum charge range is not beneficial to Cav.
No.
Like the champ, basically.
Of course, this is a copy from 8th edition again. I actually think the charge distances are too far, particularly for infantry. Take some of the maneuver out of the game.
The charge distance.
Yeah. It used to be, in old days, you could charge 8 infantry.
Right.
You charge double your distance, which was 8 inches.
Right.
Now, in theory, I can charge 16. Yeah, it's unlikely, but I could.
Right.
So that's double the charge distance.
Cav could have charged in previous editions, even if you tell with the Bretonian Cav, in previous editions could only charge 16. Now their charge went up to 20.
Right.
They went up by a quarter, where the other guys
doubled. Yeah.
So again, it's a kind of a this was not a 9th edition thing. This was
an 8th edition.
This was an 8th edition thing where they kind of nerfed the Cav took a hit with that, because now infantry can charge.
Right.
I mean, if you really look at it, infantry, a movement 4 infantry and a movement 7 Cav, the difference between the maximum charge is 3 inches.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
correct.
That's too close.
It is.
So I don't know what you do to correct that. The problem, of course, is the foot sloggers, the 4-inch movement troops, become even harder to get into combat if their movement's reduced, if their charge distances are reduced.
Sure, but I'm saying I think it's a little too far, because it's so easy.
It is.
You march up and then you can literally pin the guy on the back not to want to move forward.
Right.
You know.
Single wheel can be performed up to 90 from arc, aligning units, maximizing contact.
That's all fine.
Charge fleeing units.
And they clean most of that up.
Charges is fine. Impossible charge, blocked path. And this was the blocked path. I think it was nice that they spelled that out to stop the opponent from doing the weird two units that you can never charge either one.
Right.
Failed charges.
Failed charges.
We're going to eventually come out with a rule video thing where we talk about this as well.
Yeah.
But the ruling, I mean, if you can picture it, I don't have a graphic for you, but if you can picture three Aquitaine lances side by side, with their minimum inch apart, gap in it. The center unit declares a charge off to a unit off to the right. If the
or the end unit.
or off to the left, either one, or the center one's easier because it's it's easier to explain. The rule is on a failed charge, you can see right here, wheel the unit so that a forward movement will move the center of the unit towards the center of the intended target, and then move forward. This is not a charge move, and thus the unit spacing is ignored. The charge unit was destroyed. A unit that has failed to charge and cannot move further in this phase. Oh, cannot move further. Okay.
Right.
The rule was, and this came out on the question and answer board, and then it was further discussed in a rule forum. Like that center unit we talked about, you have three Aquitaine lances. The center unit declares a charge off to the right, forward and off to the right. If it fails its charge, since it cannot wheel towards that unit
as its first action,
it sits there and does not move at all.
Right.
So there's no penalty for failing that charge.
Right.
Whereas it's like, well, if I would have made the charge, I wasn't going to wheel first.
Correct.
So why am I wheeling?
Exactly.
Why am I wheeling first now and stopping, not moving at all? Anyway, it's a gamey thing. It's
Yes.
coming up lately more than, it's just come up fairly recently.
And it's just a way for you to control it. I mean, I'm personally have never been a fan of the fail charge move myself. But if you're going to have it, that you have to move forward with the fail charge, and it should apply to everyone equally. Then if you can't wheel, then you should move straight forward.
Now, the other part we'll talk about, I guess, here on the charging, wheeling while you charge.
Yeah.
Again, we'll use that same example I just had with the 3 Equitane Lances side by side.
Right.
The center unit wants to charge something off to the right. Right now, the only way it can do that is to move straight forward until it clears the lance on its left, then wheel,
And then move again.
then continue to move again. When in reality, those guys in those back ranks...
That's not how units move.
You don't move. You don't run way off to the left. You just follow the guy in front of you.
Correct. And then you turn at the same point that they turn.
So
you
as
move
soon
in
as,
files.
Yeah, so as soon as that front rank clears, that front rank should then turn and move to... Basically, you should only be using the front rank
as
when
you're
determining
determining
your charge arc and movement.
Yes.
So you can move, clear that second unit, wheel, go in,
Exactly.
wheel back, and then just pick up the rest of the
And then
unit.
your guys
push it over
behind just go forward until they get to the point
Right.
and they turn. So it's that's how people think of like a marching band. They
Correct.
don't. The guys don't run to the side. They all follow and they turn and
I've
at
heard
the
it.
appropriate point.
I've heard it called a parade wheel. Where,
Exactly.
Like I said, the guy on one, especially these big Equitane Lances, when you're 5 deep, if you make a 90-degree turn with that 5 deep, that guy on the back quarter is going a long way to get out there.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's just another thing. I don't know how you word it, but somehow that should be possible. You shouldn't be blocked in like that.
Well, just basically you would just, if you have the distance, friendly units do not block wheels.
Right. Yeah, I think you should be at least forced to get at least the first rank, though. But just me. Failed charges.
Yeah, talked about all that.
Compulsory moves. Rallies are fine. Fleas are fine. I don't have any problem with either of these.
No, not so fine.
And the fleeing, they continue to flee in the same direction.
I'm okay with that.
It's kind of a weird thing, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it works from a mechanics perspective.
I mean, it can cause the odd situation where your fleeing is taking you into the teeth of the enemy formation.
It can. Otherwise, when you start doing weird things, you're going to start running all over the table.
Yes, if you always flee from the closest, then you end up going all over the place.
Exactly.
And the only other option is flee to the nearest board edge. But anyway,
which can cause the same thing.
Which can cause the same problem.
Yeah.
So I'm okay leaving that where it is. Remaining moves. Where is...
Except for the name of it, the phase remaining moves, which is goofy, but
correct. Well, the compulsory and then remaining.
Yeah.
You know what I didn't see? Did I just miss it? In the
I don't know what you're looking for.
Compulsory moves. All right. Also, somewhere in here in the compulsory moves, where is I don't see the random movement.
Oh, I guess
is that under just a special rule?
I think it's probably a special rule, but we can talk about it here.
Random movement. If you've heard me go through the Army books, I do not like random movement as a
charge ability.
As a charging ability, I think random movement's fine in the game, but I do not like a 360 charge for any unit in the game.
I don't like it either because it creates a death zone.
Correct.
And it's not so terrible if it's a low strength, low attack unit. It's still a problem.
Still a problem.
But you start putting it on high strength, high attack units, and it becomes it's a death zone that no one can enter. Yeah.
I mean, you do it on the wrecking team. You do it on the abomination. There's even a steam tank.
Yeah.
Now, come on, the steam tank, the most unwieldy piece on the game, supposedly, because it's this big steel behemoth, has this ability to spin in place and charge you.
Exactly. So I mean, at least you can keep the random movement, but they should follow the rules for line of sight to be able to charge
to
something.
charge things. Correct. Advance move, march move, reform.
It's all fine.
Oh yeah, nothing here.
Pivots and wheels.
Wheels and pivots are fine.
How they've done it, how they explain it is confusing to people sometimes, but it's fine.
Yes.
It solved a lot of issues.
When you're doing this, you put your finger on this unit, this corner. Don't let it move, and wheel it.
Yeah.
Spin it.
And then you just measure your max distance on the back.
It.
Yeah.
Again, spells. Picking spells has always been a problem we both had.
I'm not a fan of the +1 for the apprentice and +2 for the master. I would just give the master a plus.
Take away the +1 for the apprentice and just give +1 for the master. Okay.
Yeah.
One less modifier, I guess. Moving down through here, the only other thing will kind of, I guess, magic flux and channeling.
Yeah.
We've kind of talked about that before.
Right. Not a fan of just rolling 2d6. I'd like to have it d6 plus a national modifier. One for offense, one for
defense.
And then that would push people more towards the middle of the bell curve, because now you can be all over the place. Once again, another problem of failure.
And it's another way to emphasize, magic heavy magic dependent armies, because you could give them a 6 plus a d6, whereas dwarves you can give them a 1 plus d6
I probably stop
or
with
0.
I probably stop with a 4, but
for example, though.
So then you can give that variability. So yeah.
Right, and then again, same thing applies. The dwarven, for instance, using dwarves, for instance, for their magic phase, they have 1 plus whatever the die roll is.
Yeah, or just a die roll.
Or 0 plus the die roll.
Yeah.
And then for defense, they have 4, the max plus.
Exactly.
Because they're magic resistant race.
Right.
So, I mean...
Of course, not the current army book. But.
No. That wouldn't work with the current army book. But anyway, I like the flexibility that gives. I think it gives a little bit of flavor and a little taste to the armies that way.
Right.
And kind of balances out the magic phase.
And when I pick a race that's known for its magic, I can actually get some spells off.
Right. You're not on the occasion where you're rolling 2s and 3s every...
Yes, and then I'm not just have some bad luck and I roll a couple of low dice and then I'm not in good shape.
Right. Or... even a decently high dice, like a 5 and a 1.
Yes. Yeah.
So, anyway. Other than that, I'm okay with things. I don't like I'm not a big fan of this whole guessing game thing where you have to have determined if you're going to cast remove a remains in play spell. That little gamey thing with your opponent. Well, I'm not casting any more spells, so now you got 6 dice in your hand.
Yeah.
You haven't made a spell attempt, but you don't have another opportunity to.
Yeah,
anyway.
You should be able to do it whenever you want.
Correct. There should be a dispel phase at the end of the turn.
Exactly.
So, anyway, just not a fan of that. I just think that's a little gamey thing that they added there for.
Yes.
Not sure why. Lost focus. Everything else I'm okay with. The miscast table, again, I think the miscast table is fine if the benefit to the spells is there. I think this outweighs the
I don't like the miscast
cost
table
and benefit.
in that I don't think it should be random strength. I think it should be revised so it's a number of wounds that your unit takes. Right now,
because based on strength.
Correct. Right, because right now the miscast table tends to be the worst for the armies that in theory are the best magic users, which are the elves.
Right.
So and it's not as bad against other armies which are
true
that are like dwarves, which are not really magic armies. So that doesn't make sense to me. So with that exception, is that fix it to not this number, of course, but just cause so many wounds to a unit.
Right.
That I think is fair for everybody, and it affects everybody the same.
Equally.
Yes.
Yeah,
good
point.
You may have better armor or whatever, but that's fine. But most foot troops don't have a lot of armor anyway.
Right.
Most.
Unless you're dwarves.
Yeah.
Somehow we keep coming back to them.
Yes.
This is a big problem in the game right now, in my opinion.
Yes.
Bound spells are way too cheap and easy to cast for what, and they're cheap, easy to cast,
and no minus.
And you know what you have.
You know what you have.
You go in the game knowing what you have.
You can get off usually on a 3. Some are little 4s.
Some are 4s, very rare.
A couple
fives.
of 5s, but so they're almost all of them being cast with 1 die and it goes off with a 2/3 chance because 1s and 2 always fail.
Right.
You put, and if you get it, then your opponent has to use up 2 dice to burn through it. Yeah, he gets a +1, but so what? You can put a lot.
He still fails on a 1 or 2.
Exactly.
Well.
So he can't risk the 1 die if he can't. He has to stop it. It's the same exact spells quite often can cast at a 9 or a 10.
Right. You can cast on a 3.
But you can cast it on a 3, but I don't even have to worry about. I can put a couple of 3 dice into it.
Right.
And I'm not going to kill myself for my unit or anything. Whereas if I overpower the other ones, so you get all these bonuses for a very minor miss. Correct. To me, it's enough that non-magic users can use them. That's all the bonus I think that you kind of need.
Right.
At least make them more difficult to cast.
Yeah, they definitely need to be more difficult to cast than what they are. And again,
and in some cases they're
how many people would take?
They're so cheap compared to the 50 points you pay for another spell.
How many people would take a bound spell if they paid 50 points for this bound spell? It's a bound item. It's an item that has a bound spell in it. You pay 50 points for it, and you roll on a chart and see what you get. How often do you think that would be taken in the game?
No one would take it.
Right.
Exactly.
Anyway.
So it doesn't make any sense.
So, just the problem.
And that's what happens, right? Because you see that, in my opinion, the most powerful magic armies
right now
are the ones that have lots of bound spells that they can use.
Yeah. Beast Herds, Empire, Dwarves, all 3 come to mind.
Yes.
So, I'm sure there's other offenders. That, Anyway. I think this was a nice move, sorting out all this.
Yes.
Shooting phase. Shooting with the unit.
It's all fine.
All fine here.
This is where the problem is.
And we have the to-hit rolls. The shooting to-hit table.
Which should really be the shooting...
No, this one's the one we're talking about. The to-hit modifiers.
Should be the shooting to hit penalties.
Because do we see a plus
There's
in
not
this
a single
to-hit
plus.
modifier? Yeah. Ballistic skill shooting is just so... Anyway.
It's good against chaff, which is unfortunate because that's... But my only real issue here is there's too many modifiers.
Right.
I don't think when we're talking about strength 3, strength 4 shooting, you don't need so many modifiers. You certainly don't, I don't think, need the stand and shoot modifier.
The stand and shoot I would love to see go away.
I would almost argue you don't need the long range, but that would give people an aneurysm probably. But
I would actually like, but the problem is with the multiple different ranges, and again trying to simplify the game. I guess I would like to see if they're going to keep long, I would like to see a short bonus, a plus for short as well. I'm not a. It's not a. If you're going to keep it, but then
my challenge with having the long range modifier is that the range variance between shooting units. So, some things shoot, say, 24 inches.
Yeah.
Another thing shoots 72 inches.
Right.
So, how this ends up working is your war machines are your most accurate shooters in the game. Now, most of these, if we were playing a historical game, would be only useful against siege opponents.
Something
mostly.
That's not moving.
Something that's not moving. Yet
Correct.
These things can track the fastest moving guys and hit with more accuracy than...
Hey, my Equitane peasants can take a bird out of the sky.
Than
with a trebuchet.
Exactly. A trebuchet is more accurate and has than a number of archers. That's just crazy.
Yeah.
To me. And so then a stand and shoot usually means stand and shoot long range. You're usually hitting on 6s. It's not even worth shooting half the time.
Right.
It's just a fluke shot. At least it would help, I think. Missile armed light troops, which right now quite often you don't even want to bother. You keep them cheap. You give them some kind of hand weapon. You only give them missile weapons if they happen to have multi shots or something really strong.
Armor piercing. Something,
some ability. Otherwise, you're hoping to get rid of maybe some other chaff.
Poison, of course, but.
So I think there's just too many. They need to get rid of a couple of these modifiers.
Right. Agreed. And stand and shoot is the one that
Yes, to
definitely
me that
sticks out.
There's no reason for that modifier. That's it. I'd get rid of long range too.
Stuff behind the hill. I actually really liked how they did these charts here to clear up what you shoot over, what you can't shoot over, that type of thing.
Yeah, it's fine. I said I kind of wish they just had two sizes, but
that's what it is. Yep.
Yeah.
Close combat phase. Nothing really there. Round of combat. Choose your weapon. Make your way. Issue and accept challenges. I mean,
I'm generally fine with almost all that.
Again, another thing I like very much that they did was, again, have this nice spelled out chart of when things happen.
Yeah, I like that too.
That's a great chart. Who can strike? Here we go with the horde formation again. We talked about that earlier already.
So yeah,
same thing.
So we don't like the +1 because you're in 10 wide.
Just because you're wider, another guy behind you can hit.
Right.
So anyway,
I personally, when we're talking about supporting attacks, I think that these are all holdovers once again from Warhammer 8th.
Mm-hmm.
Monstrous infantry have such a advantage; they can put out so many attacks over a 40 millimeter frontage.
Correct.
I think that they should normalize kind of the rules, whereas Monstrous Cav can't. No matter what you're armed with, it doesn't matter. I'm of the opinion you either give everyone full supporting attacks or you give everybody one supporting attack.
Right.
Pick one,
Right, go one way or the other.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I do think Monstrous Infantry is, and then we get Stomps and Soul, another thing which we'll get to later. To me, it's Monstrous Infantry is one of the most powerful things in the game if you have Monstrous Infantry with good strength and decent initiative.
Right. Which we'll get to.
Yeah.
Allocating attacks, that's all fine.
Swirling melee.
What do you got on that one?
Swirling melee, I like this. They added this rule. I think this is a wonderful rule.
Yeah, stop the character wall.
Except it should apply to characters also.
Correct.
There's nothing more than annoying. You got this character and the guy plays the gamey thing of challenging with a guy that happens to be the only one you're in contact with.
Right.
So now you can't fight. You're not smart enough to walk around them.
You see all those little low guys following you.
Exactly.
They are dancing around you and poking guys.
They're all poking.
But you're just standing there
and he
watching
happens to be fighting somebody on the other side of the formation that you can't even see. Yet you can't attack.
Yeah, you can stand there and watch.
Yeah, this is such a gamey thing. I
kind of dumb.
Do not like it.
Swirling melee, just apply it to everybody.
Yes.
Simple. Done.
Yep.
I'm not sure why this was limited not to include characters.
I don't know. It'd have been okay if the challenge rule wasn't there.
Correct.
That you can only strike the guys you're in contact with. You're not going to go past a guy and fight another guy. Okay, I'm okay with that. But because the challenge rule says the guy's stuck with the other guy, you can't touch him. That's what causes the problem with it. So,
rolling to hit. Okay, if he's better than you, you need 5. Blah blah blah. Whatever. Okay.
I could see them going in a different direction with this to make the weapon skill more important in the game. Because right now it doesn't really matter. It doesn't tend to matter as much for the mid-range guys.
It's not a big deal for mid-range.
It's really the big guys again. It's the big characters and all that, and which makes really nasty big gribbly characters even more difficult to deal with because it's the first filter. I could actually see them saying if it's the same, you hit on a 4. If you're better, you hit on a 3. If you're worse, you hit on a 5.
And that's it.
Yeah.
That would actually be nice, simple.
It'd be very simple, and then
be done.
And then you have to adjust a number of factors, and
Okay. And then to hit modifiers, of course, dropping out of combat. It's all fine.
Yeah, I clarified all that.
All right, winning a round of combat.
Okay.
You get bonuses for each wound inflicted. You get bonus for each overkill.
I'm okay with all of these.
Bonus if you charge, rank bonus.
Except for rank bonus.
You don't like the rank bonus counting towards whether you win or not?
I don't think the rank bonus should determine if you win or not.
Okay.
I can make an argument. Deeper is sometimes better. Wider is sometimes better.
Right.
So in theory, when you're wider, the guys on the flank actually
enveloping
would actually envelop. So
that was a 5th edition rule.
Yeah. So
the wrap around.
Yeah. Well,
the lap round.
Yeah, I remember the lap round. I don't want to go back to that.
No.
But to me, I don't think that should determine
Right.
whether you win or lose. I think it should be based on these modifiers solely.
Whether you win or lose the combat.
Whether you win or lose the combat. Rolling the
Drop
stand
the
is a
rank
different
bonus.
thing. Yeah.
Right.
What I think it should replace it with, so I'll get to that. So,
Okay.
Otherwise, I think it's fine. The break test. Instead of having more full ranks, and we talked about all the weird things about all the ranks and everything as it
Correct.
was, and it causes these strange, long formations and all that. I think steadfast should just be, I've got more models or I've got more
Right.
rooms. You can determine if it's one or the other. That way, horde guys, they're going to lose a lot,
Right.
but they're going to hang around.
Correct.
Just because they're going to start off with so many freaking guys because they're so cheap.
Yeah, you can get in that weird situation where a guy has 30 models because they're 10 wide, 3 deep.
Yep.
And he's fighting you, and you've got 20 models left, but you're 5 wide, 4 deep.
Yes.
And
So you have a rank advantage.
you have an advantage on him,
And you're steadfast because of it.
even though he's got 50% more models left than you do.
Exactly. And it killed a whole bunch of your guys.
Correct.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good example of
Yeah,
the case where it comes up.
I do not like it. And if you do that, and then you can do that in context with what we talked about before. You don't need to have this 5 wide thing and these
Right.
these false things. You just do formations, and it's based on numbers. And you have hordes versus elite guys. The elite guys win more because they kill more guys.
Correct.
The horde guys hang around more.
Just
and
because that opponent they're killing hundreds of has more ranks than
Exactly.
them doesn't mean they should lose that combat.
and because they're a horde, they get those extra attacks.
Right.
Maybe they're going to kill enough guys maybe to wear down that elite unit. They might be losing 5-1, but they're pointed 5-1, so they should be able to.
Right.
That should be the ratio, but they should still have an equal chance of winning at the end of the combat. With their 3 guys remaining. So yeah.
Pursuit and overrun. The only thing I have here really is I guess it's here. It's the breaking from combat, the moving center to center away from a unit.
Yeah.
You've charged up. It's very clear. You have a battle line,
Yes.
and just again because you're 30 wide, you're 10 wide. He's 5 wide off to one of your sides. He's running at some 40 or 50 degree angle off to
Right.
one side instead of running directly away from you as fast as possible.
Yeah.
This happened in, I don't know, I think it was 8th edition when GW
Yes.
put out an FAQ that said directly away means center to center.
Right.
And I didn't like it then, and I'm
don't like it
not
now.
a fan of it now.
No, I think it should be directly away.
It's a battle line. You should be falling straight back.
Correct. Now, if you're contacted on, I'd make it a little more convoluted. If you're contacted on multiple sides, then you should run away from the largest one.
Right, which is where it is.
Yeah, unless the other unit causes fear or terror. I would think
Oh,
you should be running away from fear or terror
causes.
guys
Right.
before you run away from other people.
Good point.
Yeah,
But anyway, that's my only
Yes.
nitpick thing there. Is
that's the only thing. It's
you
just
should be able to.
what the angle is.
Shouldn't matter that because those weird angle, of course, on fleeing is just weird.
Right.
If you hit somebody up straight, I mean, you're in a battle line with them. Fall straight back.
Exactly.
Anyway, overruns fine. Pursue and flee. Pursue and flee. The guy having an equal chance of getting away from you. I guess that's okay. I've seen people complaining about this.
That's fine. Steadfast. The Swift Stride has an advantage.
Swift Stride gets a slight advantage there, or does get an advantage there.
Yeah.
Flee and pursuing. Don't really have any problems in here. Suit off the table. Combat reforms. I think they've done this defined this as the best I've ever seen it defined.
Yeah, best as they can.
And I'm okay with this.
I'm fine with combat reforms.
Attacks and panic. Attacks and panic.
Yeah.
Range
what causes
attacks,
panic
special
attacks.
Yeah, the other thing that's kind of odd is there's 2 types of attacks basically.
Right.
there are ranged attacks and there's close combat attacks.
Right.
Which leads to that weird situation where you get a bonus from ranged attacks, and that applies to even dangerous terrain checks and that type of thing. Because the dangerous terrain check is a ranged attack.
Oh.
So it's just kind of a weird thing. It's hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah, I mean, it'd been better if they just had close combat, magic, movement, and shooting.
Yeah, and that's 4 as opposed to the 2.
Yeah.
But anyway.
It's more, but, you know.
Right. Anyway.
I think it reduces confusion, but that's not a rule change. That's just
correct.
How they
no, because like I said, even a ranged attack, even the miscast is a ranged attack.
Right.
So, anyway. Moving on, attack sequence. Attack distributes hits.
No issue here.
No issue here until we get to
the wounding table.
The wounding table.
One of the things that I'd like to change. This would burst a lot of people's craniums, I think.
Yeah, this hurts. I don't know how I feel about this one.
Yeah. The one thing in the game is you just have too many substantially uneven matches, you know.
Right.
Which reinforce Hero Hammer having invulnerable characters and
but needing 6s to wound, basically.
Yes, and particularly strong monsters. And this needing 6s to wound. I'd argue the same thing is that if it's the same, it's a 4. If you're better, it's a 3. If you're worse, it's a 5. You're going to have to give some things on the top end of the scale more wounds to compensate. But having this, you know, big block of guys, and, you know, I can't even get I'm needing 6s to wound after I've probably already needed, you know, 4s or 5s to hit.
Right.
It just piles on. It just reinforces Hero Hammer. And I like to see the game more about blocks of troops, and I like to know that a block of troops can fight any, an equal point block of troops can fight an equal point monster.
Right.
If all, you know, everything else is even. You know, it's not a specially designed monster for killing infantry, but, you know, that it should have an equal chance of winning. And it, you know,
okay.
I have to hit it, then I probably had to pass a fear test, then I gotta, you know,
right.
You know, I gotta wound it, and then it's probably got some armor save, maybe it has a regen or a war. You know, it's just too many filters to get through. If you're gonna have so many, they cannot be so extreme.
Okay. This is your most radical call so far.
This would be the most radical, yes.
That would cause that's a big dust up there.
I don't see them doing it, but I'll throw it out there anyway.
Armor saves and modifiers, fine. Regen and ward.
Regen and ward.
Why regen and ward?
They've held this on from Warhammer. To me, these saves are not different. They've tried to make them slightly different,
right.
by what affects them.
Right.
They're not different enough to have a separate rule. I'm sorry.
I think if they went back to the regen the way they did temporarily I guess GW did that with the regen temporarily on that Hydra, where regen meant at the end of your turn you rolled for every wound you'd taken, and if you made your regen roll, you got your wound back then. It didn't prevent you from taking the wound, but your wound came back is regen.
And this is an old, I think, 5th edition had that. Yeah, if regen was, you just rolled to see what wounds you got back. Just that turn, though, not the entire game.
Not every time, right.
You know, if it was just to, at the end of the combat, you rolled to see what wounds you got back, you know, after combat res,
right,
it would be different enough, but still, I'm not sure it's worth it.
I'm not sure it's worth the second mechanic.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's worth the second mechanic. At the end, it's, you know,
right.
It's just another type of save. It does kind of the same thing, you know. Is it really necessary?
Okay.
You know, call it something else and just combine them. It's not worth the variation.
Inflicting wounds we talked about.
Yes.
Yeah, nothing
That's
really
all
in there. Removing casualties again. Fine, pull your casualties.
Yes. 3 from the back.
Panic checks are
Panic
okay.
is okay.
Don't have a problem there. Troop types. Fine with all the troop types.
Right. We talked about the support rule.
The support, yeah, except for the support, of course.
Which is one of the things we have an issue with.
Yes. Character mounts, troop type rules, cav support, monsters. Yeah.
There it is, monster support.
There's the monster support.
Yeah, give everybody the same support rule, basically,
right.
Whatever it is.
Just support rule is the support rule, whatever
yes.
that is. It's not based on model.
Right.
Combined profile, I'm a big fan of the way this has worked out
Love
in the game.
It. Just get rid of some of the things that aren't necessary.
Oh, yeah, if you're going to do when you...
Right.
On the stat line, don't show the stuff that you don't need.
Exactly.
Ridden monster profile again. I'm actually a fan of the way they've done the ridden monster as well.
Yes, I like that.
Where
too.
the guy on the weapon skill or whatever, the guy riding it doesn't really matter. You're fighting the beastie because it's the only thing you can get to.
Exactly.
Much. So I'm okay with that. War machines. I'm okay with war machines. There's a lot of negativity towards the auto hit on war machines.
I think that's okay.
All right, moving on from war machines, we have troop type summary. Again, it's a big chart for everything that's...
I like the chart because it gives you everything in a
single chart.
Now, if they do some of the things that we talked about, you don't need some of these entries.
Yes.
Like what forms of horde and a rank and all that
Correct.
stuff, Yes, and how supporting attacks work. And
right. All right. Mundane equipment.
Okay.
Close combat weapons.
Yeah, you're going to have heard a lot of this stuff before.
We'll start with the hand weapon. It's fine.
It does what it is. It is what it is, yes.
Until you get to this last sentence.
Yes.
When it's combined with a shield, it gives you parry.
Yes.
Parry's a rule, I guess, that shows up somewhere else.
Yeah, which we think is a bad
Parry
rule.
is a bad rule.
Badly designed rule.
Yeah. I mean, I know they were trying to give a bonus to hand weapon and shield guys, but that, it just hurts. Anyway.
Yes, it's just not good that you got these crappy guys and they are all of a sudden they're getting hit on the same number as these elite guys or regular guys.
Right.
Just because they happen to have a shield.
My biggest conceptual problem with this rule all along has been that the hand weapon and shield parry rule benefits the crappier you are, the more you'll benefit from this rule.
Correct.
Which, to me, makes absolutely no sense.
It's completely backwards.
Counterintuitive or whatever.
So, I much prefer they do something very different with shields.
The flail I'm actually okay with. The only problem I have with flail is a lot of times that modifier is not remember. You're rolling to hit, blah 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 blah, and you're rolling to wound, and you're like, oh wait, you're using flails. You didn't give me a +1 to hit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just
you have to remember to use it. I mean,
remember to get it in there in time.
And it's a type of weapon that's good on some guys, not on others. I mean, it has a definite minus.
Correct. This is a major minus.
And it's got a big plus because you're basically +2, all the time at your initiative. So,
correct.
So it's fine.
It's fine. And which brings us the great weapons, which again I think is fine because it's a +2 strength, but your initiative 0.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, you've got you got a bonus, you got a minus.
I could actually see them, particularly if they did something like a little differently. If they keep initiative, and we talked separately. I'm not a huge fan of how initiative works but you could actually assign to each one of these weapons that it applied an initiative modifier. So great weapons would not necessarily be a 0 all the time. They'd be a minus something
or whatever.
Yeah, -2, -3.
Right.
So
I would actually love to see that.
That would I think would be fine because then you don't have to have like weird rules like lightning reflexes. Elven guys have them. They're still faster, but they're not as fast as they would be.
Not as fast. Correct.
Yeah. So you don't automatically want to have those guys because you're giving up one of your advantages. So
Yeah, no, I think that would be a great solution because that fixes something lower on the chart,
correct.
Which we'll get to.
Halberd, it's the same as it's always been. It's okay. I don't know. I'd like to see halberds better against cavalry, but that's I give it an additional AP1 wouldn't be bad.
Paired weapons.
We didn't talk about it before, and I forgot to talk about it. I wouldn't mind them separating strength, toughness versus armor save, penetrating armor, having 2 different things for that. Because then you can give certain armies more armor, and certain weapons are better against armor. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're better against. Just because you get a bigger weapon doesn't mean it cuts through armor very well. Anyway, paired weapons.
Yeah.
This is bad.
This is bad because of the application of it,
Yes.
particularly with monstrous infantry.
When you stick it on a high strength or medium strength model
With medium initiative,
it is really bad.
now he becomes a good initiative.
Now becomes initiative.
High strength.
Becomes an elite
before
initiative. Yeah. Now all of a sudden, they're going first.
Yeah.
And this is really bad.
Correct.
Yeah.
I don't like the minus. I don't like the minus one. I mean the +1 initiative to this at all.
I do not either.
I mean it's to me it's a big enough benefit that you're getting an extra attack.
Yes.
Anyway.
I think the extra attack's fine. If they want to do something, they could give it 2 fighting modes. One is offensive, defensive. Offensive, you get an additional attack.
Or +1 armor.
Defensive, you get a +1 armor. Yeah.
It's called a Hell Fist.
Yeah.
Except it does both at the same time.
Yeah, but you can't do both at the same time because when if you're actually fighting with 2 weapons,
correct.
you're not usually thrusting with both. You're pairing with one and you're thrusting with the other. So, or if you're thrusting with both, you're thrusting with both of them at the same time. So, I don't. But that +1 initiative's got to go. It's just terrible. It's terrible for the game when you see these
the monstrous
strength 5 things coming, and all of a sudden they're initiative 4
or 5
or 5. Yeah,
or better.
And they're wiping out guys that it's
not
good
for the game. I don't think. Lances, attacks made gain +2 strength around combat as you charge. This is all fine. I would like to see a lance get an initiative bonus.
Lances are broken, in my opinion, in the game in a bad way, because a lot of your cavalry, unless you have some of the elite elven or WDG guys, but if you have human guys, you're often striking after the stuff that you're charging into, no matter what,
right?
Or at best the same time. So that hurts. Then you're paying huge points for this weapon that only gives you a +2 on the turn that you are charging.
Correct.
Great weapons, you get it all the time. Yeah, you're going last. Flails, you get it all the time. It's not even the first round of combat. It's only if you charge.
Right.
So quite often you're being charged, you don't get it.
Right.
Following rounds, you don't get it. So the plus of points for it is...
And if you look in the army books, you're right. It's pointed more than the great weapon.
Exactly, and that's part of, I think, why cavalry costs so much in the game. It just costs far too much for what it does.
It does.
And then it's only an initial thing. And yeah, they really could help this if they did initiative on all of these weapons, giving this thing an initiative bonus.
Yes.
It would make Elven Cavalry very scary, but...
it would, but elves are going first pretty much anyway.
Yeah. So maybe they could fight some other things, but yeah, they need to give it an initiative modifier, and they need to drop the points a lot.
Significantly. I agree. Light lances...
Same thing.
They could give whatever they give the other one. If they give the lance +2, they give this a +1 initiative, maybe.
I don't mind having the same plus. It's just, you can say +1. You can say, less of initiative or the same initiative. Doesn't matter. It's got less strength. So.
And the spear, which is now pretty much looking like one of the more common items in the game.
Yes, one of the best weapons.
Which was disappearing earlier.
Yes, because it wasn't any good.
Gets to fight an extra rank.
Which is fine.
AP1 against everything.
Yes.
And you get lethal strike when directed against cav, monstrous cav, and chariots. Engaged to the front.
Yes.
Anyway, the spear is awesome right now.
It's just got too many bonuses for what it is.
Right.
The fact that it works like this every round of combat is what makes it kind of crazy.
If it was attacks made with spear gain lethal strike on the turn that they're charged by cav, monstrous cav, or chariots,
not so bad.
Then, because it's a set spear thing, fine.
And then you
go to the grind and the combat continues.
Then you're okay with it.
Then I'm more okay with this.
Yes.
But anyway, that's just and I do like what they did, where they've got a weapon, they assigned it an armor piercing value.
Yes.
That's nice. I like this.
Yeah.
So anyway.
And like I said, I'd like to see that separate rule, then you could actually apply it differently to the weapons also.
Correct.
And spear, when we read spear here, we kind of have to interpret it as a half pike or something like that, because it's clearly not just a regular cheapy spear. Spears are the weapon that you gave all your crap troops, because they didn't learn how to lose anything. They just formed a shield wall and they poked around. This is really when you're talking about extra ranks, it's got to be a really long spear. Now you're talking about a pike. So,
Right.
so I always thought of it as in that context. So I don't mind it has special rules, but it's just too good compared, especially when you pay for it compared to the other weapons.
Right.
You know, halberds are usually more expensive in a lot of units, and it's like, you know, I get more bonuses, and yeah, I lose out on the strength, but the AP
Right.
kind of compensates against a lot of opponents. And with the extra rank, it's usually going to make up for my chance to get the wound
For a
anyway.
chance to get the wound.
So I get extra rules, and I'm cheaper. It doesn't, and I get to use my shield. So
And you
you know,
still get to hang on to your shield. with
yeah, yeah. So
which is
yeah,
something.
exactly.
All right. Choosing your weapon is just where you have to use whatever special weapon you have because that's what you're trained on, I guess.
I don't know. I don't
It's either
think
that or you make everyone weapon master, and they always go hand, weapon, and shield for parry.
I think if you fix the weapons, you don't need
Right.
this rule,
That's a good point.
because you know any smart guy, decent trained guy is going to use what he
Right.
needs. Then you don't need the weapon master rule.
Okay. Understood. Shooting weapons. Fine. I'm okay with this.
I'm okay. I'm not a fan of volley fire, firing over units.
Right.
You know, I know they're trying to give bows something. I'd rather, back to the armor piercing thing again, I'd rather they made ballistic skill shooting to be a little scary for mounted units. That is their counter.
Right.
Not everything. Right now, everything is their counter,
Not everything's their count.
except for ballistic skill shooting, which is the one thing that should be their natural counter. If we, at least if we're looking at history. I mean, I know
Right.
this is not a historical game, but you'd still like it to have some basis there. So I'd like to see, you know, something in that context.
Okay. Other than that, I'm kind of okay with.
Yeah, I think
much
the ranges and
everything.
everything are okay. I think they have a few too many special ones in some of the army books, but that's a different issue.
Right.
Yeah, but it's okay what they do.
Bolt thrower. I actually kind of like what they've done with the war machines when they've kind of generalized the pattern. You know, the templates have gone away. I think that's a big bonus.
I like it. To the earlier point, I don't like that they are more accurate than regular shooters. I
Right.
think that needs to be fixed. If you take away some modifiers, that'll solve that problem.
And points for points, artillery weapon's going to do more than a.
And I think there's a points problem, yeah, because I think ballistics. I don't care if you get they say, oh, you can, your moving archers are better. 4 inches, what are you going to do? I mean,
Right.
with strength 3 attacks, the war machines just they have the potential being what kind they are. Bolt throwers, I think, are fine. I like what they've done with them. Cannons, I tend to like the change.
Mm-hmm.
They're not. Although part of me says they're not really any different than bolt throwers.
No, they're just kind of a heavy bolt thrower.
Right. So, you know, how they have that, strength in it. So it's really kind of a, direct fire missile weapon that can
Right.
blow up. That's the only difference it should really have. And it's stronger. It has a higher strength.
Right.
It tends to get quite weaker, though, compared to a bolt thrower as it penetrates. That's what's kind of weird to me. You know?
Okay. Yeah.
When it used to bounce and hit multiple units, I understood that it was broken.
Right.
You were strength 10 and you could hit 3 chariots. You can't do that anymore. You can only hit one
Right.
target, which is a great fix.
It's a great fix.
So they didn't really, in my opinion, they didn't really need the
yeah.
to nerf the bounce because of that.
Overall, I thought they've done a really good job with
They
the
did.
artillery.
Yeah, I like the catapult rule, except I don't like anything being over 4x4.
Correct.
Anything there, that's just too much.
It's a little crazy.
The 6s when you can cover whole units.
Right.
Yeah, with unless you're strength 1, I don't want to see that. Yeah. The volley guns.
But in your rules, strength 1 would still wound everything on a 5.
Yeah.
Okay, just for letting you know that.
Exactly.
Sorry. The flamethrowers are actually awesome right now
They are awesome.
for the price. They're actually cheap.
They're a little inexpensive.
Yes,
I don't mind the rules. I just think they're a little
The
inexpensive.
price needs to come up on them.
Well, the multi-wound thing is what makes
Correct.
them against multi-models.
Yeah.
They probably need to think about that a little bit.
Yep.
High strength and multi-wounds against multi-models. They don't. And they shoot kind of far now. So.
Do they? I thought they were like, okay, some of them are 18, some of them are, okay. I don't
Yeah.
know what they are now.
18, 24. I think that's pretty far. I mean,
Yeah.
basically after turn 1, you're shooting at stuff. So
Right.
yeah. The volley guns, I like the way they work. I just think they're not priced right compared to the equivalent
Because some of the volley guns are fantastic.
ballistic skill shooting.
The two fantastic volley guns that can come to mind are the Dwarven one and
And the EOS
Empire
one.
one.
And those are the one. And the EOS one, you figure I can have that volley gun, and the same points of handgunners can't do a fraction of the damage.
No, they cannot.
You know, and it doesn't make any sense. And yeah, they're slightly more resilient in close combat, but really they're toughness 3 guys with no protection. What are they going to do?
Correct.
Pretty much anything that charges them going to beat them. So it's not. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
You know.
Okay.
And plus you're covering much more frontage with those archers. So
Right.
this thing you can squeeze in between 2 units and do whatever.
Misfire chart. It's what it is. I kind
It
of
is.
like it the
I
way
don't
it
know.
is.
Yeah, I like it the way it is.
I think I do not like the fact that the dwarves basically get a +4 to this.
Yeah.
But +2 to this, I'm okay with. The fact that it cannot jam and miss a turn of shooting is huge.
Yeah.
I don't care if they got a +2 so they can't just break down and never work again. I'm okay, because the dwarven craftsman's whatever. But the +4 where they can't,
Correct. No,
they don't ever stop firing is a bad thing.
Yeah, I agree with
That'll
that.
come up in a different
Yeah.
review book we do.
Yes.
Armor's fine. As what it is, right? The only thing I think they do a little too much of is the innate defense versus /barding type stuff.
I think
a little
they
confusing.
I think they can do away with the barding now, since they came up with mounts protection concept.
Right.
Some army books have it, some don't.
Right.
Just adjust the movement of the mount.
If you don't have an option whether or not to buy armor,
Yeah.
yes, call it mounts protection and adjust the
I
movement.
don't know. Does anybody have the option to buy barding anymore?
I don't know if they do or
I
not.
can't think of anyone. If you
Right.
don't, just reduce the movement 1. Just give mounts protection 5 instead of 6.
Right.
It'll just be one less thing to calculate. It'll just be
One less thing for somebody to have to learn if
Exactly.
they're new and calculate if you're not.
Yeah, and frankly, they could. I mean, if they want to go radical, they could combine armor and innate defense. Just give it different names.
What do you mean?
Instead of having 2 separate things that stack on top of one another,
Right.
I said it'd be more radical. You could just go with an armor your unit has an armor factor
Oh.
or armor rating, and the armor rating is light, medium, heavy,
Right.
super heavy, call it whatever, and then it counts for whether it's scales or actual chainmail. It's whatever. It's just a combined thing,
Right.
and then you don't have like 2 things that you're necessarily
You're adding
together.
or whatever. Okay.
Yeah, I'd like shields to give if they made ballistic skill shooting more accurate by taking away some of those modifiers, long range and
Stand and shoot.
stand and shoot. I'd like shields to give a +1 against
Shooting. Right. A further +1.
Yes,
Right. Yeah. Again, historically.
that's really what they were best at doing, was protecting the guys from archery. So
Right.
yeah,
Okay. The other thing they could really, if they really wanted to get crazy, of course, is something you mentioned earlier, and that's flip it, and being mounted gives you a -1 to your armor.
that was on the modifier. Yeah, I'd really like to see like I said, I'd like to see Cav do a better job against troops in melee, but be a little more vulnerable against shooting.
Right.
There should be a good reason for you want to take archers, So
Characters, I think they've done a fine job with characters and what they've done in here.
yeah, everything's
Right.
fine. Is it to the point of they hit so easy and they can't be wounded and they can't be hit? I don't like that.
Yeah, it's the proliferation of the 1-up or 2-up rerollable armor, 4-up ward behind it.
Well, before you even get to that,
Even if you can hit them,
you got guys with high weapon skill.
you're going to need a 5 to
high
hit 'em.
initiative.
You're going to need a 5 to wound them. Now,
Yeah.
now they've got a 1-up rerollable armor and a 4-up ward.
So I mean, the filters just
Yeah.
kept stacking. So
Yeah.
if you're going to have that many filters, you need to get rid of. You need to make them not so extreme.
Right. Again, characters have to go in the
Yeah,
front.
it's
All
all,
this is
it's all fine. I like how they fixed all that.
Yes,
I like how make way works.
correct. And there's no more make way to the rear, and
Right. That's what I
that
like
unit
about
of fast calves charge you in the rear. The guy walks back there and kills them
Yeah.
all before they go.
it. Exactly.
That's gone now.
Yep.
So yeah, I do kind of like that. I do also like the changes that you battle standard bearer no longer dies if he
Yeah.
flees.
Yeah, I like
he
that.
no longer drops his standard if he flees.
Yep.
He's
I like everything about the.
He's got all his equipment. He keeps all his equipment.
Yep, I like all that.
Same thing with a unit standard. Challenges. Challenges are always going to be a quirky thing if you're going to allow challenges.
Yeah. I've never been a fan of them. I'd rather you just had a challenge at the beginning of the game. But there's something that's kind of unique to the system. I don't see them removing them.
Right.
As long as you can't shield your unit by challenging your, like, as we
Right.
talked about before, you fix that and it's all fine.
Right. I do like the benefits they've given to.
I really like how they've given almost all of the upgrades something worthwhile.
Correct.
The musician, them taking away the +1 to rally
That was
is actually a pretty big deal.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Believe me, it's huge.
And I don't mind that they did it, but at the same time, you no longer can flee and automatically rally.
Right.
Or rally and do your thing.
And have a good possibility of rally.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I do think that, that well, when we get to light troops, we'll talk about that. We need to do something with light troops. Veteran standard bearer, this is an 8th edition rule. I do not like it because it basically means a lot of armies that used to have a lot of standards don't have them anymore.
You can take one.
You can only take one, and for certain units. And you have elite armies that you would like to see them have more standards in them.
Right.
So I don't think this rule. I think this is a bad rule. If you want to limit, you already limit it by saying who can have a magic standard, who can't, and you control it by how many points that standard can be.
Right.
So if you want to have certain troops have lower point standards,
Fine.
that's fine.
Right.
I wouldn't even mind, a couple of elite units in the game having like even more points for a magic standard, for certain armies,
Right.
But I don't think this veteran standard bearer rule is required.
Coming to terrain, dangerous terrain. I like dangerous terrain.
Yeah, I think most of this
They've
is
done
okay.
a good job doing all this.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm not a fan of in this whole chart is
The buildings.
that would be buildings. They still don't have buildings.
I think they're close.
They are.
It's just this cover thing is ridiculous.
Just passing through a building to get cover is just
Because
ridiculous.
it doesn't apply to any other terrain.
Right.
So I think, already that you were hidden behind it when you were moving behind it, so you already got the bonus of it. So they need to do away with that. I would also argue that there should be a minus to you if you got big, blocks of guys trying to get through this building.
Right.
So I'd argue there that if you've moved through with a ranked unit that wasn't light troops or skirmish, that if you're contacted and that you're like disordered, which that basically means if you're contacted in close combat,
Right.
if you charge or you were charged, or you can't charge, but if you were charged and you're following around, that you don't get the bonus of whatever the bonus is. Right now it's rank bonus,
Rank
but
bonus.
I would say the bigger rule or whatever, because you're going to be kind of disordered because you're all kind of sweeping
Yeah.
around this building. So it should be a slight minus for the block guys getting around the building, but absolutely you should not be getting a shooting modifier.
Yeah, and just march right through. It's also weird, just an infantry unit marching. Now, if infantry couldn't march through it, they would never get through it.
Correct.
But the fact that you can just walk right through a building is just kind of weird to me.
And get a bonus.
And now you've got a -2 to be hit bonus. Because
and fast things, you just do that just so you can get that bonus, so you can't be shot off.
Right.
To keep your chaff alive. It's just, but I can be in woods and it doesn't help me that
Correct.
much.
I can take a unit of War Beast, dash through it, move 18 inches,
Yes.
towards the enemy, and you're -2 to shoot me.
Yeah.
As long as I don't shoot at you first.
Yeah, I just hate that. I like that it's a fixed piece of terrain because I think because when you could go in buildings, it just cause so many darn
Correct.
problems.
If you put whole units in buildings,
Yeah.
and
So that part's great. Just get rid of
moving
that
in the right
modifier.
direction. It's just not. If this modifier is not there, I'm fine with buildings.
Yes, I just
Completely.
like to add to have a negative combat modifier.
Right. Since they don't have disordered.
Right.
Victory conditions. I've liked what they've done all there.
Yes. Just
all
don't like
good.
the one secondary objective, but
Oh,
that's
yeah,
me.
you don't like the hold your ground.
Yeah.
Victory point chart, fine.
I could even see it going farther,
What's that?
even more towards the victory conditions.
Oh, that your victory conditions were the primary.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, maybe not the primary, but it could be a bigger piece of the points.
Right.
Okay, brings us to special rules.
There's not a lot here.
There's a few things here and there.
Area attack, of course, we said it's just okay until it gets above 4.
Yeah, it's just too big. Otherwise, I love the change. Armor piercing. This is a fine rule. If they separated armor from toughness, then they could really do some different things. Breath weapon, I'm okay with. Crush attack. I'm not a crush attack fan because you seem to give up so much most of the time to get this attack.
Yeah, it's hardly ever used, but it's there. It's fine.
It's there. I just wish.
Doesn't bother me.
I don't think it needs to be at initiative 0, but that's a whole other deal.
Right.
Demonic instability, and what's the other one? The undead one, crumble.
Crumble.
I don't see the point. Once again, they're similar, but they're different.
Oh,
you know.
Why are they? Yeah. Settle on one and stick with one.
Yeah, pick one for anything that's not natural, and whether it's demonic or it's or it's undead or whatever, it doesn't really matter. I don't think it's necessary for the differences.
Okay.
Fast cavalry. I wish they had an auto reform when they fled.
Oh, you mean an auto rally?
Auto rally. I'm sorry.
Auto rally when they flee.
Yes.
Correct. Along with skirmish.
Yep.
Ethereal, I've actually kind of like what they've done with Ethereal. With the 3 up, 5 up. It's kind of tough. I mean, anyway, I actually kind of like where it is right now.
I'm okay with it. It's the crumble rule that causes problems usually with those types of things, because now they can get hurt a little bit and they crumble.
Right.
So yeah.
Fear, I think this has been one of the best changes in the game.
I like fear.
That they've done.
Yep, I like it.
Fighting extra ranks, fireborn, flaming.
It's fine.
Flammable, fly. Nothing here.
Yeah, frenzy, grinding
frenzy,
attacks.
I've always liked frenzy. It gives you a bonus, but it also has a negative.
Yeah, I like frenzy. Grinding attacks. To me, I'm generally not a fan of any attacks that automatically hit.
Right. I'm not either.
Unless they are the only form of attack that something has.
Okay.
So, something like a steam tank that doesn't have any other attacks.
Right. It's just
you give them this.
You over.
Okay. Yes. But if it has a whole bunch of attacks and the grinding, I think that can be
Correct.
a bit. The auto hit attacks are. We can talk about that. I guess we can talk about that here.
We can talk about it here. Auto attacks, auto hits are a problem.
And stomp is the best example.
Impact, I'm kind of okay with.
I'm okay with impact.
And grinding, you kind of convinced me. Grinding's okay if it's all you have.
Yeah.
If that's all you do is grind, fine.
But yeah, you shouldn't have a whole bunch of attacks and a grinding attack.
Right.
You shouldn't have impact and grinding.
And then stomps. We've talked about stomps before. Stomps were pretty much put into the game to help monsters.
Yes. And monstrous infantry. And
monstrous infantry.
It's not I don't like it. Once again, it's automatic hits. Yeah. I would much rather that you just give additional attacks to those creatures. Whatever they are. Just give an additional attack that doesn't automatically hit. So
correct. Yeah, I don't like the auto hits.
And that's something that was created in 8th edition Warhammer, and they basically copied it. But I like that to go.
Held on. All right. Hard target, hatred, hellfire, hold your ground.
Hellfire, I don't think is necessary.
Yeah, probably not. Immune to psychology.
That's fine. We just talked about.
With impact hits. We kind of mentioned insignificant. I actually kind of like the insignificant.
I like how they've come up with the insignificant rule. Yes.
Inspiring presence.
It's fine. Lethal strike. I'm okay with. Light troops back to. I actually like. A lot of people are complaining about the light troop. I like the light troop.
I don't have a problem with the light troop at all.
Yeah, I see a lot of people complain about it.
Really?
Yeah. And I think how it works fine.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Lightning attacks, I don't know why we bother. It's not a
so
army
rarely
thing.
Comes into play.
There's like 2 things in the game I can think of that it affects. Why is this in the rule book? If you're going to have it, make it a special rule. Otherwise, it doesn't need to be here. Lightning reflexes.
I think the lightning reflex is a little OP at the moment.
I don't like lightning reflexes. I play elves.
Right.
But I don't like it. I'd rather they just messed with the like I talked about before, messed with the weapon skills and the 2-hit table, and I think that would be enough to compensate. I actually wish that elves had as their ability instead they had distracting and hard target.
Correct.
If they had an armor of 5 or less or something like
Right.
that, to show that they're really hard to hit, that should be their to me that should be their filter. Is they're difficult to
They're hard to hurt them. It's hard to hit them.
Once you hit them, though, they go down like a sack of potatoes. Right now, they're not hard to hit, but they go down like a sack of potatoes. So they just the race that's supposed to be, almost immortal and cares about life, they die. I'm not sure how they're still around because they don't procreate, but they die in droves.
I still don't know why eagles hang out with you bastards
Exactly.
either.
Yeah.
The way you guys sacrifice those.
Have to because strong breeze and they're gonna start, like 12 guys died.
Elves are evil.
They are evil.
They've dominated a race and sacrificed them every battle.
Yeah. Magic resistance. This thing needs to be fixed.
This has to do. I don't know what you need to do it, but something has to happen with this.
My favorite is just you get extra dispel dice.
Extra dispel dice would be fine,
And that's fine.
regardless of whether he's casting at you or anything else.
If it's casting on, I mean, I know why it can be scary because of bubble spells,
Right.
But if it affects me, I'd rather have an extra die.
Right. Magical attacks,
That's
fine.
Metal shifting.
Okay.
Isn't that
It's
much?
there. It's not going away.
Yeah, it's not that much of it. It's in the magic lore mostly.
Right.
But wound fire, multi shots is okay. Multi wounds, don't have an issue with that.
The only multi wounds I have is some of the creatures that have multi wounds shouldn't.
That I think there's the wrong units tend to have it.
Correct.
Yeah.
The guy with the numerous attacks and high strength has multi wound, where the
Yes.
low attack, low strength does
Yeah,
not.
I think that's one thing I think Age of Sigmar does quite well. You have lots of
You
attacks.
want to say that on here?
I am because it's our
Okay.
channel. You have either lots of attacks because you have like options with your units. You have lots of attacks. If you don't have lots of attacks, you have fewer attacks, but they have either a better chance to wound or
Right.
they have a better chance to penetrate, depending which one you take. And I think that conceptually that just makes more sense for balancing units. Clipped wings.
Clipped wings makes absolutely no sense. I know why it's there. It's there to discourage to tone down the flyers a bit, but it makes no sense that I can. Anyway,
I
don't know how to say it.
I don't think it's needed anymore. I think that they've taken wounds away from a lot of those creatures.
Yeah,
And I'm not a fan of. And if that's what you're, concerned with, do it some more. I don't like what it's called. There's no logic to it.
there isn't.
You know.
Again, because the trebuchet has D3 wounds, clipped wings.
Yes.
So I can. And it was funny. I saw. I don't know. This was way back. I saw some guy wrote a little article thing, and he's like, it was some guy yelling at his troops or something because they were firing a ballista at. A bolt thrower, ballista at something, this big flying creature, and he's like, "No, crank up the trebuchet."
Yes.
What are you doing?
Much more accurate.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think they just
Not
Otherworldly,
either.
otherworldly. It's just a
5-up ward.
and immunopsychology and
Correct.
magic attack, so it's a stack up thing. But
Yep.
yeah, Pathmaster.
Yeah,
We think it should go away because we
away.
think it should be just the way it is.
It's part of a mage. Penetrating's the bolt thrower rule.
You put Miss Perry, but I'm not,
Oh.
I don't mind Perry.
We've already talked about Parry.
Yeah.
Parry is terrible.
Yes.
It's just, yeah.
Needs to
anyway.
go. Be replaced with something else.
We've already talked about that.
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
Poison attacks, I'm okay with.
I'm okay with poison. It seems to be lurking very heavily in certain armies, and anyway.
Yeah, I don't like how some armies they nerfed it a lot, and other
Right.
armies they didn't.
Proliferated. It
Yeah,
seems
I mean,
like
it's-
probably
you
not.
still have a good amount of it, and
yeah.
but they've really nerfed a lot because they've given so many of the monsters armor just to it seems to compensate for poison, but then they have limited number of guys who are going to shoot it, so
Yeah.
they need to fix that too.
Quick to fire, random attacks, those are fine.
Yeah, it's all okay.
Random
movement we
we've
talked about. Needs to
Don't,
be
no charging forward, and you're only charge forward, and you're fine.
Yep. Regen we talked about.
Yep. Reload we talked about in one
Yeah,
video,
that's
and we were
fine.
completely wrong, so that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Request your hand, scoring,
That's fine.
scout.
Scoring.
Scout.
That's a chain that I like that they marked units as scoring.
I
So
do
it's
too.
the whole standard thing. Yeah.
Scout. I'm not happy with what they've done with Scout. The 18 inches away means
It's too far.
it's way too far away.
Yes.
Anyway, to be of any use, to
Yes.
be of much use, I
Yeah.
should say.
No, I agree. Should go back to 12.
I actually like the skirmishers
I like the
remain
skirmishers.
not formed up.
I do. This they need to add the rule that
Bothers people, but I like
if they flee, they should be able to auto rally.
at the end of their flee.
Yes.
Move. Correct. Not that you roll the next turn. It's just
Right, and then they have this, and the light troops don't. So that gives you the
the
fleeing
distinction. Yep.
distinction and all that. And the light
Mhm.
troops are still basically a fighting unit that can move through terrain. You
Correct.
know? Yeah.
Yeah, but I like the fact that they stay
I like it
spaced
to
out,
make your movement trades. Don't have
less
these weird
combat
things going on.
effective. Anyway,
Exactly, and then you decide who's a light and who's a skirmish.
Right.
But they need to do more for it now because light troops seem to, have
been a much better.
often are a better choice. Especially if they give them hard target on top of that. So yeah,
Well, they could fix it easily by
just letting them rally.
letting them rally
That fixes these guys perfectly.
and give them the fire and flee.
Yes, and give them the fire and flee.
Stomp. We've talked about that. We don't like it.
We don't like it. Replace
Simple.
it with attacks. Yep,
Strider. Fine.
it is what it is.
Stubborn. Stupidity. Swift stride. Sweeping. Terror. Thunderous charge. These
Swift
are all fine.
Swift stride to me actually, I wouldn't mind if Swift stride was instead of rolling an extra die, you could re-roll.
Reroll one of your 2 die.
Re-roll both of them.
Oh, okay.
You roll your 2 dice, and if you have Swift stride, you can do a re-roll.
Okay,
Because you can't move any farther anyway.
that's true.
So
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
yeah.
Unbreakable, undead,
Thunderous charge.
undead, unstable. We talked about those
Yeah.
two.
Yeah,
Thunderous charge. I mean, we're fine with all that, right?
yeah. It's like the undead. Yeah, it's unstable. Put them together. I'm sorry,
Unstable
unstable and
and
the other one,
demonic
instability. Yes. Unwieldly's fine. Vanguard, don't have an issue with.
Volley fire, which you said you do have an issue with.
I'm not. They're trying to give bows, an ability, and I don't mind them being. I like how all the guys in the unit can shoot. I'm not sure I like them shooting over things that are in front of them
Yeah.
with no penalty. If nothing else can do that.
The only thing I would say is, at all with volley fire, is clarify this a little bit further, this last paragraph sentence, because I've had so many people try to argue that this means that the entire unit can fire even if only the front rank is in range. So
yeah,
I would just like to see that clarified a little bit better.
There is that.
Because it says further back than the usual first 2 ranks.
Right.
I mean, to me, I read this and it was clear what the intention was, and it is.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's come up so many times means that a lot of people don't get
Correct. Well, I mean, go one way or the other.
it. Yeah.
If you want it to be that okay, it's okay. Just fix it.
War platform, ward save.
Well, platform's fine. A lot of rules, but it's okay.
wizard
Ward save we
fine,
talked
right.
about with the regen. Weapons master, if you got rid of the other thing, you don't need it anymore.
Correct. And wizard conclave.
Um,
Actually, I'm okay with this.
I actually like the Wizard Conclave. I think it was a great concept that they came up with.
Yep.
Last thing that I forgot to mention when we were talking about the different, we have champions, we have musicians, we have standards. I don't like that you actually have to buy them. I think that they should
correct.
come with the units if they have them.
Be free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The units that don't have them, they have another ability that compensates anyway. Skirmish or light troops or whatever. I like seeing standards on the table. I think it's a
Right.
nice modeling thing. That you're just trying to shave points that you get rid of this here. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Agreed.
And especially because it's a fixed price. So
it would be easy.
My
to
little
fix it.
80-point, light unit has to pay 60 points to get that, whereas your 500-point unit
Don't
pays.
remind me that my goblin pays. I pay 20 points for an extra goblin attack,
Exactly.
where you pay 20 points for an extra whatever attack.
Shopty attack.
Yes.
So it doesn't make any sense. That's they say it's streamlining, but
It's not.
it's not good.
It's not good.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. Applying special rules again, like the fact they spelled all this out.
It's all fine.
And that brings us to the magic items.
Right.
Magical items.
Yes.
We've talked about our problems with this before. Just to sum it up real quick, I guess. Well, not quick, because we're never quick. Sum it up.
Why start now?
I think we both agree these should be moved if not all of the majority, if not all of them, into the army books.
Right, and pointed appropriately.
And so that way they can be pointed. +1 attack means more for a goblin than it does for, an elf lord. Whatever.
Other way around.
Whatever. Anyway.
But yes.
I mean, it does not mean the same, correct?
It does not mean the same. And they did a thing before, which I kind of like, which is the hero versus the lord modifiers.
Correct.
And it did a way to streamline it, but so at least that was something. But with really strong or powerful guys, it's definitely different. And I like them to fix that.
And they've done some things in there to cap certain weapons that are, it's this sets you at 6 instead of giving you +3 attacks. That type of thing. I think I've liked.
And they wouldn't have to do a lot of that if it was fixed to the army books.
The other,
if you don't want ogres to have certain things, then it's not in their book.
And the other thing I don't like is limiting the arcane items 1 per mage.
Correct.
Because those are, you're special. Again, we'll go back to the same complaint I've said before. As much as you're paying for that mage, you can't spend another points on another mage to get the second arcane item you want in your list.
Right, and it basically means a whole bunch of items. If you're going to keep limited, you might as well get rid of all the items and just have 3 of them.
Right.
2 general ones and 1 special one for the army that's really good, that makes people think, because that's all you're ever going to see.
Yeah.
And otherwise just open it up. If there's a couple that are stacked too much, then just tweak them, so that's not a problem. But they may just take multiple ones.
I agree.
Now, my other thing is I'd like to see a lot more magic standards.
I would love to see more magic standards.
What's kind of, to me, is missing in the game are fixed buffs for. You see other ways of buffing units in the game, but the easiest way to buff units is to give them a magic standard. And they don't have to be big 150 point things. They can be very small ones that do very basic things. You already have a +1 movement.
Right.
Why not have certain armies get a +1 initiative or a +1 weapon skill? +1 armor save against shooting. There's all these little things you can do that are relatively cheap, which would be fun. The bring back the MR banners. I mean, there's just things you could do. And I like to see just a lot more banners and a lot more units that could take banners.
I agree. I like banners a lot.
I like them a lot.
And that's the end.
Yes.
Look at that. Anything else you want to add here?
No, I think we've covered everything, because everything else is basically summarizing the rules.
Exactly. Again, I have no idea what they're doing with version 2.
Right.
I'm hoping some of I'm sure at this point they've not that they're listening to us anyway.
Yes, we doubt they're going to listen to us, but hopefully some of our things will align with some of the things that they're thinking about doing.
They're thinking as well, correct.
Because I mean, our basic thing, I think, is we like this game because we like ranks and flanks and blocks of troops fighting over the table. We don't like gotcha stuff.
Correct.
We don't like
War Machine if you like gotcha.
Yeah, we don't like one piece that dominates the game, or one unit that there's few answers to. I personally am a rock, scissors, paper guy. I like every unit to have an advantage against a certain type of unit and a disadvantage against another.
I would love that.
And that doesn't exist as much as it could. There's some units that are just good against everything. And
I really think I like the rock, paper, scissors armies at an army level, and I like the rock, paper, scissors at a unit level as well. I mean, you can't make a unit that's good at everything. Even the Gortak. For all my complaints about the Gortak, it's a fantastic monster. It has no armor. It has no saves of any kind.
Yes.
So, I mean, it does have its negative. It's got no saves.
Yeah, except it gets its wounds back, so it's almost like having saves.
Well, if it gets in combat, then it gets, it gets to eat bottles.
If it didn't have that.
Well, that's different. It's got to get to combat to get that, at least.
That is true.
And, again, it's another one of those that... Sorry, let's go back to multi-wound. Multi-wound in general, I do not like... I like conditional multi-wound. I like the weapon that if you roll the 6, it gets multi-wound.
Right.
It's not automatically going to do multi-wound when it hits you.
Yes.
And
or your guy is strength 4 and he's doing multi-wound.
Correct.
So.
Right.
he's not strength 6 and doing multi.
And I've actually as far as the multi-wound goes, I like what they've done I like what they did in some of the Sylvan Elf items. And I saw it somewhere else too. At least one Sylvan Elf item and one other item somewhere else. Might have been a Saurian Ancient. Is where your hit didn't do multi-wounds. Your hit became 2 hits.
Yeah.
So therefore triggering 2 armor saves and 2 wards.
Yeah.
I actually like that a lot better than the multi-wound.
Yeah.
But anyway, as a, alternative.
Mm-hmm.
But these are all just me babbling.
Right. So, but basically, yeah. So, I mean, we're hoping that with version 2, because it seems like they're going to be making more changes than just the magic items, magic rules. But we'll see. Mm-hmm. That they do some things to focus the game, and because right now I think cavalry's a problem in the game.
Cav is
because it has too many
underpowered.
Right, it has too many counters.
Correct.
And does not good against enough things. And then war machines are shoot a little too good. Maybe magic is too erratic.
Yes.
Monstrous stuff tends to be good against too many things.
Monsters, yes. Especially monstrous infantry, monstrous cavs.
Right,
well.
And of course the uber characters. And the more elite army, the more uber the character is before you even give it stuff.
Correct.
When you start piling on the magic items, and then you have access to so many that maybe you shouldn't have access to make
Correct.
it even better. So they just need to do some of those things. So you got to take the extremes out of the game.
You do,
or you have to reduce the number of filters. You got to do one of the two. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll say what I've always said when I talk about this is what I'm looking. Like you just said earlier, we're looking for a big ranks and flanks game where it's the big blocks of infantry.
If we weren't, we'd play Age of Sigmar.
Big blocks, we'd play Age of Sigmar or something else. Which we've always talked about. We've never actually tried, have we?
I've tried. I've played.
Okay. But the big blocks is what I'm looking for, with a little bit of more flexibility than what you get out of like Kings of War. That's what I'm looking for in a game.
More flexibility, more tactical than you see in Kings of War. A little more maneuver, maybe.
Some more maneuver. Yeah, that's what I want. And these guys have done a fantastic job so far. Everything, for the most part, step by step, has come out has been an improvement.
Yes.
Like I said before.
Except for maybe that parry rule.
Except for that, yeah. Correct. They've improved the game. I'm not going to say every rule they've done is an improvement.
Yes, overall it's an improvement.
Overall, it's always been an improvement.
9th Age is a better game than 8th edition was.
It is. And the armies are closer to balanced than they were before, in my opinion. In the general. But
I think the balance is different. I'm not sure that they're necessarily better balanced.
I think the 16 armies are closer together than they have been.
Yeah.
Overall.
Well, you don't know. The
only problem is there's a certain army that's always been down near the bottom, and it's still there.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. Anyway, that's all I got.
I think it's
right.
That's something told.
You got anything else?
That's the whole thing.
All right. Well, thank you for listening.
So those are ideas. Comments below.
Yep.
Till the next time.
Tell us how stupid we are. All right. Thank you.